Hello and welcome to Steps in the Right Direction, HBR Talk 42 aftershow with the longest pause between start streaming and the count for the stream that I have seen yet. My computer is being a butt, apparently. The story that I chose here, you can see it in the window if you're watching the stream. University of Kentucky bends to Betsy DeVos, ditches double jeopardy, adds unanimity in rape cases. So this is a definite step forward. Actually, a few steps forward, in that the university has realized they need to provide some semblance of due process to students accused of sex crimes at their university. If they're going to adjudicate these accusations, that they can't just railroad people. And I think this is the first I've seen of a university taking these specific steps. Like, I've seen universities moving forward in terms of, yes, equal representation means the accused gets equal representation too, and they're not automatically guilty until proven innocent, and sometimes even after. But I haven't seen them ditch the double jeopardy. The double jeopardy thing, that always bugged me. If you accuse somebody of something and you can't prove that they did the thing you've accused them from, or accused them of doing, I mean, you shouldn't be able to appeal that. That's like, it's proved that they're not, either they're not guilty or you couldn't prove they were. So this one is by Greg Piper, associate editor. And here's
University bends to Betsy DeVos.
I know.
Ta-ta-ta.
Which means they didn't want to, probably, but they still did, which is it's even better if they had to, because that means there's strength in the movement to restore due process to the situation, enough that even the university
decides to turn
to
what it was originally intended for.
Yeah, even the universities with bad attitudes are going to have to do better. So, let's see. The interim Title IX guidance released by Education Secretary Betsy DeVos last fall was far less prescriptive than the guidance that colleges followed for the previous 6 years. Even before DeVos's department finishes the notice and comment regulatory rulemaking that her Obama administration predecessors ignored, the University of Kentucky has already made changes that strengthen fairness in its own Title IX investigations. The Kentucky Kernel reports that while UK is keeping the low evidence standard of preponderance, a common reaction by universities to the DeVos interim guidance, it is junking a provision that lets accusers appeal not responsible findings in favor of the accused. Double jeopardy is banned in U.S. courts, but not uncommon in Title IX proceedings. A recent survey found it's popular with students when the subject is sexual misconduct investigations. Such a provision is reportedly responsible for at least one attempted suicide by an accused student. The university is also requiring findings of sexual assault to be unanimous among the 3-member disciplinary panels. Before June 18, when a revised policy took effect, students could be found responsible with only 2 out of 3 panel members in agreement. So basically, they get 60% of the vote. They're found responsible, and if they can't get that 60% of the vote the first time, they get they get accused a second time. So essentially, all that really needs to happen is 2 out of 6, because if the first 3 all voted no, and they had a second hearing with 3 different administrators or professors, then in order to get the result they wanted, then they're looking at, instead of a 2/3 vote, really they're looking at like 2 out of 6, a 1/3 vote. That actually ends up convicting the student. So I can see why the double jeopardy, the university might have been more okay with dumping that, they might have looked at that and said, this is probably going to get us sued. Let's see. The structure of appointments to disciplinary panels has also changed. Each college and the university will send faculty members to a pool to be tapped to hear cases, rather than the president making appointments to the pool. Oh, geez, so they were handpicked. According to the colonel, the administration rejected one major recommendation. There it goes again. It just jumped up. Sorry, guys. I'm going to have to fix this so I can actually read where I was. According to the colonel, the administration rejected one major recommendation from the ad hoc committee created by President Eli, I don't even know what that is, Capilouto, that the university make a pool of funds available for accusers and accused students to hire attorneys in sexual assault cases. A university spokesperson confirmed to the College Fix that lawyers hired by students can actively speak on their behalf in campus proceedings, an option that is rarely granted to students elsewhere. So they got three things. They've got, they eliminated double jeopardy, what was the other one? And they gave them anonymity so they're not slandered all over campus as potential rapists, and they can have their lawyers speak on their behalf. That actually is much better than what under Title IX universities were doing. The revisions were made to a document known as Administrative Regulation 6.2. That sounds like something out of a movie. The document's web address incorrectly suggests they took effect in 2008. The previous version took effect in 2016. The colonel reported that President Capilouto announced the changes in an all-campus email last week, though they aren't apparently mentioned by any online university source, from Capilouto's blog to university news and social media pages. They're doing it in secret. A spokesperson from the university offered the Fix a copy of the email from Capilouto after this post was published. The president emphasized that the committee was appointed by the university senate, that he carefully considered its recommendations after a year-plus review, and that the committee made the draft police available, I'm thinking that's policy, throughout the campus for feedback. While the administration rejected the lawyer funding proposal, Capilouto's email makes it clear that the parties can have any attorney during the investigation and any subsequent disciplinary hearing. This is tiny. Let me see if I can make it bigger. Oh no, it's actually just a tiny image to begin with. It's going to be blurry, but yeah, I think that's the best we can get. But it just basically says, yeah, we've finalized changes to the regulation, and then it lays out what they are, and that they take effect on June 18th, or took effect on June 18th. And I don't see anything in it that's not mentioned in the story, so I'm not going to worry about trying to go through all of the small print. Back to the story. The spokesperson told the Fix in an email the university doesn't routinely post official communications to the UK community where the public can see them, even for major policy changes like this one, but it has actively engaged the media on this issue, both the school paper and outside outlets, he said. We don't post every email online or in the blog. The local media routinely has then and writes about or covers the ones that they believe have interest beyond the campus community. The spokesperson later corrected himself and said Capilouto's announcement had been posted to his page for campus messages, which the Fix had not noticed. And then they have an update and correction. A spokesperson for the university provided a copy of Capilouto's email to the university community to the Fix after this post was published and explained why it wasn't posted online for the public to see. He also confirmed that lawyers hired by students can actively represent them in campus proceedings. The spokesperson later corrected himself and noted, the announcement has been posted on Capilouto's page for campus messages. The email explanation, confirmation, and correction have been added. So, what's the disclosure? Rick DeVos, the son of Betsy DeVos, serves on the board of the Student Free Press Association, the non-profit parent organization of the College Fix. So there we have it.
That's a detail I didn't actually know. So her son was actually involved with the College Fix.
Yep.
That explains quite a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're gonna pay more attention to stuff like this because they're a little invested in it. Yeah.
Nepotism.
Yep. And I guess that's the whole disclosure. There isn't anything else. But
Hi, Allison's dad.
Hello.
Did Luca change her name
She
again?
just said in the chat that
Yes.
her dad watches.
Well, wait. Allison's dad's name is in the, it says Allison's dad as a name in the
Oh,
boardroom. Is that also Luca?
No, but I should be Allison's dad.
I think that would be
I think you're
a challenge.
the wrong gender.
Well, it would definitely be
you?
a challenge. How old are you?
Are you guys straight?
I'm 86.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're-
Okay.
we're talking about you, Allison.
You're definitely too old to father children, and you absolutely are not to.
Is the sausage the sausage extruding, Hannah?
The sausage is what?
Is the sausage extruding? at
Yes, the
this moment?
sausage is extruding at this moment. I just trying to figure out if Luca was in the. This is
I always
nuts.
thought Luga were 69.
Wait a second. How are
I'm confused. I can't understand anything Allison's saying.
you're
Allison, you're breaking up.
oh, for fuck's sake.
This time
Her
it's
dad's
Allison.
far
watching.
away too.
Does Dialhawk already know?
For the record, this is the after sausage.
Yes, well, this is the after sausage, yeah, not the public broadcast, but the after sausage seems to be shorter, simply because we read the story and then there isn't really a lot of discussion on it post, so
There is one thing, though.
yeah.
Anna knows a lot about sausage.
But the question
What about
is,
split sausage?
what's so special about sausage?
Tomcat sausages with bobs?
Cats think they're
Post
snakes.
mobs.
I wonder if that group that I used to see at the Ren, that joke comes from, actually still does shows. That was a neat act. There was one of them played. They were supposed to be cousins. One of them played, the irritable one, and the other one was the straight man. She was supposed to be, real dumb and everything. And her name was Fizzy. Fizzy was the dumb one. I can't remember what the other one's name was. And the sketch was Fizzy's cousin was trying to marry her off, because living with dumb Fizzy was just annoying. And so she was trying to auction her off to the crowd, or sell her off to the crowd, to some guy in the crowd, for half a sausage. And throughout the act, you were supposed to, every time she would say, only half a sausage, or mention sausage in any way, shape, or form, the women were supposed to yell, "What's so special about sausage?" And the men would pipe up with "wench," and And then she would make some quip or another, like, they only come in links, or I likes the thin skin, and stuff like that. I likes my sausage long, whatever. That was always a euphemism for either male
obviously.
genitalia or the things that male genitalia does, And
I was thinking of winches. They should have done the Pirates of the Caribbean, where they're
Yeah.
selling winches instead of people. They're selling things that haul up boats.
But we wants the
So they're
redhead.
still selling winches.
yeah. Oh.
But that
But
would
if they're selling treasure, then what's the point of being a pirate? The treasure's
looks so
already
question.
there.
It looks like they're selling
Pirates
old
get all the
people.
booty.
yes, sell the booty. There you
There you
go.
My
Sadly,
dad.
Disney won't sell booty.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
We hear you now.
My dad
Yes,
sent
daughter.
commentary on the last Culture War episode that we did.
Oh.
He sent me an email. Apparently, he watches our show.
Huh.
My dad
Nice.
does too. He listens to it and he very much enjoys it. I know that my mom does not, because I talk some shit about my mom a little bit.
Of
Not
course.
too much, but like, come on, like my mom totally took advantage of the whole. She absolutely took advantage of the court system. She took my dad for a fucking ride. She doesn't like to admit that.
Mine did
Oh
too.
my God, Ellison, why are you saying that?
I still like my mom. We're very close, but like sometimes it's like the truth hurts. I get it. She doesn't like to hear me talk about it.
Yeah.
My dad's like, hell yeah.
about women?
Well,
I showed him the Red Pill documentary, and
Yeah.
I was very astounded by his response. Because as someone who went through very many of the things that MRAs talk about a lot, I thought he would be like, okay. But do you know what his response was? He said, "These men need to grow up and grow a pair and stop whining." I was like, "What? Really? Like how is
Like Joe
He's
Rogan.
a baby boomer,
God,
isn't he?
yeah.
Just
He's a
walk
boomer,
it off.
so yes,
Yeah.
he's
Come
at
on,
that
walk
walk
it
it
off.
off thing. But the thing is, he was sitting there crying. I could see him crying while watching it. I'm like, what do you mean walk it off?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Jesus,
Like Joe Rogan. You didn't
Let
get
me
raped,
walk
you
off.
had sex.
Let me
Ugh.
walk off my
Yeah,
years.
it made me
of
cry.
being a
Yeah.
Joe.
Yeah, he's crying while clearly. So he's clearly emotionally affected. But it's like, no, I don't. These men need to just grow
Well,
up
because
here.
that's
Like,
what
all
he
right.
has had to do. That's how he
Right.
has had to deal with it. So it's like,
Right.
fuck them. I had to tough it out. They can too, goddammit.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
I
yeah.
guess that's it. Yeah.
It's a coping mechanism.
Mhm.
It's
When
a
I
way.
showed my dad the Red Pill documentary, whenever Paul Elam said Uncle Daddy, my dad piped up and went, "Oh my God, they stole my word!"
Well, to be fair, men probably used to have peers they used to go for help.
Yep.
Not women, not older men, but their own peers. So I think when older men say that, they don't mean actually do it yourself. They mean go talk to your buddies at a bar and drink some beer, man.
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting because I watched it together because this was back in October. Oh no, probably actually August of last year with his best friend, and his best friend who is my godfather. Never been married. Very very averse. And certainly has had relationships with women, but been very averse for
Great for
rational
you to
reasons.
come.
For
Yeah.
rational
The day-
reasons from marriage.
Imaginary goddess wedding.
He was just kind of like, oof. Yeah, and I know that I'm sure that he, took out his frustrations with my godfather in private and over a beer or whatever, but yeah, that was astounding to me that I could see it emotionally affecting him to see this stuff laid out in clear terms, but he could not accept it of just, get over it.
Well, that was
What a bunch of pussies.
when the 7 years in hell case was happening. My dad kept saying, "What did this guy do to this woman to set her off like this?" And I kept saying, he didn't curl up and die when she left him, or when she broke up their family. She didn't leave him; he left her, but he left her because she had another guy's baby, which is a deal breaker, And
Yerp.
yeah,
One would hope.
Normally it is, yeah. Once in a blue moon, it's like, oh, hey,
Don't be a
hot, you know.
deadbeat dad.
But,
Not in the
yeah.
Trudeau household.
Yeah, he.
yeah.
And my dad was like, well, what did he do to her? And I kept explaining,
That
you
was
know,
why so many people went to Canada.
he got custody. He got custody of their kid. That's what he did to her. Well, you know, moms are important. And I said, yeah, but this mom is a drugged out
Piece of shit. Yeah.
piece of shit who knowingly and willfully lives in a mutually abusive relationship
Oh, yeah.
with a guy who
My
beat
sister
her
had a
child
friend
black and
that-
blue.
She was
My
pretty much in
grandma's.
the same situation where her mother was basically just like out for herself,
Yeah.
didn't care about her. So she
My
was
boss-
basically spending time with her aunt.
Well, and what ended up really red pilling my dad is I have this childhood friend who this kid he's had a speech impediment all of his life. He's always had he's just been picked on by everybody because of it. And his family situation was somewhat dysfunctional. His dad was a Vietnam vet with PTSD and anger issues. And he wasn't just a Vietnam vet. He was a 3-timer. And so he went back twice.
3 tours.
3 tours
Oh God.
on purpose. 2 of
Always
them.
sounds like the
You
white
know, he
feathers.
volunteered to go back. He volunteered to go back because he had buddies there that he wanted to protect.
Mm-hmm.
And it was basically the guy that runs into a fire where he's probably going to get killed because there's somebody in there that he can't stand the idea of them dying alone. And that was
I'm finally out.
yeah.
Hey! Oh crap!
Yeah, the guy.
All right, I'm going
There's,
back.
you know,
A lot of guys.
whatever
feel
you can
guilty for
say
that,
about the
yeah.
home life that my friend grew up in, you know, his dad was a good man. He was very protective of the people around him, and his way of nurturing was definitely not always functional, but it wasn't. However, it was because he was just an asshole. It was because he was worried about his kids and he wanted the best for them. And he was tough on him, but the mom reacted by being overly lenient, especially with the boy. So he had social problems growing up that stemmed from that too. That as he grew up, he learned things the hard way that a lot of kids learn at home. And one of the things that came out of that is he has a habit of picking up psycho bitches from hell. And he went through 3 of them. And the
Gotta
third
think
one,
about the women's. The women's.
third one put him through a 15-year ordeal, just like the vexatious litigant story that I've told, except that it just kept going and going and going, and it included things like, since it was a small town, the ex-wife would go to a bar downtown and tell everybody that he beat her up, and then they'd go find him and beat the shit out of him. And my dad saw this happening.
Was that he gets what he deserves?
Yeah, that's.
So
I
you
mean,
should be happy about what you get.
this is small town justice. This is rural America. If you get accused of beating women, the
It's
good
almost
old
like
boys down at the
Mockingbird.
bar will come and find you. You know, this is you want to
Or
know
just
how
a rumor.
you want to know how gynocentric America is. That's you go to any rural area and accuse, you know, say oh yeah, there's a guy
The minister
out in the
beats his
parking
wife,
lot beating
and
a
then
woman.
the next thing that
Yeah, the minister's
dead
hanging
on
from
the
a
street.
local light pole, and so that's what red pilled my dad. Really was like he saw this guy going through this over and over again, and just was flabbergasted when the worst thing the court did was actually throw out evidence because it was not in favor of the accuser. And if I'd have been in St. Mary's, if I'd have been up there and could have actually been there for him in court, and covered it for A Voice for Men, I'd have had to have publicly lambasted a friend of our family. This is somebody my parents knew. This is somebody that's eaten dinner at my house that they never would have expected to do something like this.
One of us.
Yeah, no,
I think-
whoever's typing, we can all hear you. But yeah. So in any case, yeah, this is one of those situations where you can't keep the wool over your eyes in the midst of it. And my dad was just like, I can't believe this is happening. And I went back and explained to him what I had explained before about the Violence Against Women Act and the training that court personnel get and the stipulations in the law regarding what they're supposed to do and what happens when a woman walks into the courtroom with a representative from a women's shelter in addition to her lawyer. And, it just... That's what it took, because my dad's a baby boomer, and it's all about pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, but it's also all about if something is your problem, it's your problem, and you deal with it. And
the officers get there and they're like, "What do we do? I don't know. Let's look at the wheel."
Yeah, and the idea that these systems could be this dysfunctional, that he knew they were bad. He's always been a little red-pilled, at least on government overreach, but he had no idea how bad the family court system was until he saw Scotty's case, and that just blew his mind. And so.
But this is
Well, that's what makes it insulting. The Big Red says, "Well, that's part of patriarchy."
Yeah.
Ugh.
I think it's a coping mechanism, though. Like I was saying to Aiden, that when guys see this stuff, it's a way of trying to deal with the pain. It's as much of a coping mechanism, I think, as crying. It's trying to center the... I remember I had this conversation with a young man who was part of a website development firm. And we were going to do a website through their firm. Unfortunately, it was too expensive, but I explained what we do, and I explained some of the issues that we talk about. And at the end, he sort of looked at me and he said, "But women have it worse, right, because of rape." And I'm like, No, actually, rape is also a men's issue. But the thing is that he was trying to reestablish something. He was trying to reestablish a coping skill, which was the idea that women have it worse, which allows him to frame his suffering as for the benefit of another group of people, which means that it takes the edge off of the suffering. Because if you're doing it in order to earn a positive identity in society, you actually are giving yourself almost like a numbing agent. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's if you can find something else to blame, I mean, that's I think with my dad, at least in that sort of response, you externalize your internal suffering. You have very real internal suffering, but if you can find an external sort of source for it or something like that to put it out on, or to say, this isn't my pain, then, well, yeah, you can say, if you can try to say it's not really my pain, it's not really my suffering, it's not really related to me in some way, anything like that distances the self from psychological option.
Or if it has a purpose, like my neighbor that went back to Vietnam for 2 tours he didn't have to go on,
right, because
he had people there he wanted to protect.
And with your father, Aiden, it was like he was able to reframe all of this suffering, or his coping mechanism was reframing all of this suffering as a personal failing of other men, even though he had experienced it. And it's something that I've seen that's sort of like a little bit of a toxic behavior that comes out of men not actually addressing these issues, is that instead of addressing the issue, they will, I'm not saying your father is necessarily doing that, but they will create a scapegoat group. And even though they are facing the same problems, they'll essentially say this guy is the loser who's going to be scapegoated for these problems because he failed to address them. And I saw that in my own dad, at least before he started to get red-pilled.
Yeah.
I think men want to be problem solvers, they're basically genetically designed to be this way. So when there's a problem that you can't solve, viscerally, you can't come in here and solve it with your hands or with your words directly. I think it's deferring the responsibility, or saying well, it must be these guys are a bunch of pussies. They don't know how to be real men and suck it up like I do, right?
We have the ones that will try and solve the problem, and then the ones that will go out shopping or something, or do a hobby or something instead of solving the problem.
With my father, he had this real hatred, real visceral hatred towards homeless men. because he saw them as failures, right? And but it's this feeling, and I think that guys get, even very, very, very successful men get, that, you know, there but the grace of God go I. So you want to defer that from, oh, this is something out of my control, to, oh, they lost because of their own individual failings, which I don't have.
Yeah.
Or that's a coping mechanism. But the problem with that coping mechanism is it leads to scapegoating, which actually leads to more misery. And it's not really coping with the problem or fixing them. It's just papering over it.
Aiden, do you mind me asking how old your father is?
He is 66.
Wouldn't that be natural psychology to, like, for natural selection? It's just like,
That's the same age as my father. He must have been older when he had you.
And my dad's a little older than
Order
that.
66.
Now I
My
see, like, I
dad's
don't know.
70.
My
You guys
parents
have
were
old
both in the
dads.
70s.
I'm just thinking, like,
I'm going to depress you, Aiden.
cognitive
My parents are about to celebrate their 50th wedding anniversary in September.
I think my parents already.
My father's going
hey, I
to be
no,
74
I think
in
that's
August.
that's great. 50th
My
wedding
mom's
anniversary.
46.
Congratulations.
This year is my parents' 50th wedding anniversary because they were married 4 years when they had me.
I think my parents is maybe 43 years.
Yeah.
God damn. My
Mom's
parents
46.
Nope.
My grandparents.
20 years apart.
Oh no. No.
My grandparents
no,
were married 75.
My grandparents were married for about 75 years, and it was up until my grandmother passed away 3 years ago now, and that was my granddad's not. I mean, I don't know how can you live with somebody for that long? It was about 75.
My
My
dad-
husband, I would live with him for 10 times that long and be happy.
But I mean, how do you?
My
if that
my
person
parents
leaves?
50 years almost
Bless
of
them.
marriage.
I'm on 20 years.
Give each other space.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, I'm all for long-term marriages. Fuck yeah, go. I'm all about that shit. Hell yeah.
We will
It's the
have to
best
live. My husband and I will
legal
have to
marriage.
live to be 80 to be legally married for 50 years.
Do we have to repeat the joke now and ask Aiden when she's going to marry?
I don't mind talking that all fell through. So about that. Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear it.
Yeah, I got proposed to, and then 3 weeks later was done. So
What?
Oh, so
That sucks.
That's horrible.
What's this?
No.
That's
What
rough.
is
Who is
this?
the cunt?
When did this happen?
now a month and a half ago, maybe.
Oh my gosh, that's why you were gone.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, Aiden.
You know
No,
what?
it's
You know
not
what?
Between that and being claimed of denying the Holocaust,
The Holocaust and all shit. Oh
which one's
well.
worse?
Well, here's the really fun thing. I went out. I rented a cabin.
Okay. Who's making really ridiculous
no,
noises?
Yeah, because we're
Remy.
still broadcasting, you know.
Several people.
Yeah, no more noises, guys. If
When-
you're gonna be
I
doing
turned off
stuff
my
in the
fan.
background, mute.
Only
Mute.
non-ridiculous noises.
Yeah, nobody
I-
wants ridiculous noise pollution. Okay, sorry, Aiden, continue.
Oh no! It's not like I know that this will get out and then whatever. But like at this point, it's been over a month, so I'm gonna it's gonna tell the story. So the week after all of the crazy Holocaust denial shit about me came out, I said I can't deal with this. So I went to I rented a very nice house, not a cabin, a house in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia, in the middle of the woods with a hot tub, fireplace, and it was great. I was like, I need to get away from everything for the weekend. And during that weekend, he proposed to me, and then 3 weeks later, he basically said, no, never mind.
What?
Yeah.
yeah, I have
Oh,
the same
jeez.
response going.
I'm sorry.
So, yeah, it's okay, but that's why when I got awkward for a minute, and the funny thing about that thing with Brian was that not even like 5 days later, I was on the Dick Show on, if you don't know Dick Masterson, he is the guy who wrote the book, Men Are Better Than Women. So
There you go.
My God, the name.
I love him. He's a satirist, very funny guy. And I've been
He's
a fan
just
of
a
his for
troll,
years.
though, isn't he?
His public personality is a troll, but the Dick Masterson personality is a troll. But he's a real guy. He's a really actually very nice, cool guy.
Well,
from all
the
my
nature of
public
satire is to troll anyway, to a degree.
Did they
so-
have him on CNN or what news show?
He was
did
on the
they
Dr.
have him
Phil show where
on?
he was
Oh,
just
okay.
where
yes.
Oh yeah,
hilarious.
I think I saw you talk
Wearing the
so
reflective
funny.
glasses, yeah.
He's wearing the aviators and he goes and he's like walking up to an ATM and he's like, "Men, this is all you look like to a woman." You know, it's like,
Jeez.
oh, what's his other really good line? I think he says that divorce is the same thing as prostitution. You're paying the whore to leave.
That's that's a good one.
Holy shit. But I mean, like, he's playing a character and he couldn't believe he got on Dr. Phil. But the point is, like, 5 days later, I was on his show and out of nowhere, he asked me, he said, "Aiden, when are you getting married?" And I just went, I had the same, like, lock up for a second. And I was like, oh shit, man.
Like, not
Oh.
right now. That's the answer. Not right now. Can we talk about something else?
Encountered error.
You were like too soon.
Yeah, it basically, it was. Well, I thought I still was when I was talking to
Aiden blue
to
screen.
Brian. But yeah, I blue screened, yeah, because I was confused. I don't know. Whatever, man. Yeah, it's frustrating, but you know, shit falls apart, or things fall apart, as they say. Whatever. To quote Trailer Park Boys, "Fucking way she goes."
Well, yeah. I was engaged a bunch of times before I got married.
Better now than later.
Yeah. Better before the marriage than after the wedding.
I proposed to someone, and then they told me to do it again because it wasn't that good.
Oh
wedding
God!
singer.
Oh, that's
My
It would have
husband
been nice to
should
bring
have
that to
said
my
that.
attention
Yeah.
yesterday.
Isn't that a cue for try it again, but I won't say yes either way?
I know, right?
That's
Well, I'll just say that I'm happy to see Aiden back on posting videos.
It took a little bit. It got hard there for a while, but
Oh, so that's why you weren't posting
Working.
videos.
hey, hang on. I post a video. I try to post a video every week. Now my shit, I know nobody watches it, but they take.
Hey, I watch it. I love it.
Don't you know Alan?
Obviously they do.
I guess it takes a very long time to produce that kind of level of like, because I go in and get real heavy into the research. Like I wasn't like, okay, the porn research, I wasn't happy about that at all. I like porn, so I wasn't happy to be like, oh, maybe porn's not so great after all. That wasn't fun.
Don't study the things you love.
There you go. Well, with that, I think I'm gonna actually close out the broadcast because it's we're definitely, I think we're not gonna discuss the story, but we've had a really good discussion, and it's been about half an hour long, and it's actually getting close
Sorry
to
to
my...
ruin it for you, Hannah.
It's not. It's fine. I think the news story in and of itself pretty much told the whole story there.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I got it. I'm gonna have to take off. So, good night,
Yeah.
everybody, and thanks
Just
for
let me
listening
just
and
hit one
participating in
last
the
thing.
stream.
The chance was
All right, good
3/4 if everything were